first. So there's a lot of outrage about All-Star Weekend, particularly the All-Star game last night, in which the Eastern Conference throttled the Western Conference by a final score, and I'm not kidding when I say this, of 211 to 186. That's the most points that's ever been scored in an All-Star game. Almost 400 points combined between the two squads. And let me give a good analogy, or the best analogy I can, because I'm seeing a lot of pushback and criticism aimed toward the players. They don't play the game as hard as they used to in the All-Star game. And these guys, they just aren't that competitive. The pushback is being directed in the wrong direction. I'll explain to you like this. Say you are one of the best students in a particular region. Say you go to school, you turn your assignments on time, you get A+, straight A's across the board, and you are named one of the best students in your particular region. First of all, congratulations. Second of all, let's say that the higher-ups, those in charge, say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get the top 15 students from a particular region within your state, wherever you reside and live, get the top 15 students, put them in a classroom, and have them take a test. Now, mind you, the test does not impact their GPA. Test does not impact their ability to get into their school of choice. All it is, hey, let's just see who the best student is. What the heck? It doesn't impact the GPA. It doesn't impact where they go to school. I don't know. I'm going to go out on a limb and say the students probably aren't going to cram in study and go all in like it's a final at the end of the semester or something. And my guess is maybe the test scores, maybe they don't look that great. Maybe they're below the level that we would expect from such a great student. Well, if the professor or the proctor, whoever's over the test, the higher ups, come back and say, the heck kind of performance was that? You would be well within your rights to respond and say, you told me it didn't mean anything. You told me it didn't impact my ability to get in the college of choice or my GPA. It was just, let's just see who the best student is. Just throw it out there. That's the NBA All-Star game. Obviously, we know these guys are great. They wouldn't be in the All-Star game if they were not great. There's a number of factors at play and at work in regards to the issues with the All-Star game. And I'll give you my 3 ways that I think the game that Adam Silver can fix the All-Star game and All-Star weekend in general in about 5 to 10 minutes or so. But stay with me on why the pushback is in the wrong direction right now with the players. So first of all, there's that. Okay. What is their incentive? What is their incentive? And it goes back to, I think in many ways, ring culture. Because we talked about in the regular season, and the gripe with guys not going on in the regular season, low management, sitting out back-to-backs, that issue that fans have with players, I absolutely got. Absolutely got. I'm going to pay my hard-earned money, bring my family to the game, maybe go to 1, max 2 games a year. We want to see our favorite player for our team, or maybe for the road team, if LeBron or Steph or somebody or Luka's in town, we want to see them, and they're sitting out the game due to load management. That's a perfectly legitimate claim from the fans. And so Adam Silver sit back and said, okay, we are going to punish the players that do this with the 65-game threshold that you need to reach in order to qualify for awards, MVP, first team All-NBA, things that bring in incentive, bring in money. Heck, help your legacy as you get older in your career. Once you get into your 30s, your mid-30s or so. Once there was incentive, the players, by and large, I'm not going to lie to you, I haven't seen that much load management this year. I really haven't. And if so, it's been pretty much under wraps for the most part. And so they changed how guys get awards. But what I mean by ring culture, though, coming back to that, circling around to that, is that if a guy is amazing, let's take Joel Embiid, for example. Joel Embiid is one of the 5 most productive basketball players on planet Earth when healthy. He's a league MVP. He's a back-to-back scoring champion. He's one of the great defensive players on the floor. Man went for 70 at one point this year against the Spurs. Now, I know the Spurs suck on defense, but 70-70, okay? Props to him. An efficient 70 nonetheless. Guys like myself, and I can be guilty of this, sit up there and said, yeah, what you going to do in the playoffs, Joel? And guys like Joel and guys who haven't won anything hear this are like, okay, if there's nothing I can do in the regular season to help my legacy or to help how people perceive me, then why in God's name would I go all out in the regular season? Let me just kind of save my gas, save my energy. Now there's science that proves that that's not the case, but nonetheless, you understand what the players are thinking. Let me go all out for 2 months from April to June and change the perception about me. Jokic just did that last summer. He just did that last summer, okay? And I'm hearing too, well, guys just aren't as competitive as they used to be. Back in the days with Michael and Chuck, and, way back in the days with Kareem and Magic and Bird, guys were going all out in the All-Star game. These guys today, man, they're not playing any defense. You got these wide open driving lanes, guys just shooting a million threes, and they're just not that competitive. And the guys back then were. That is correct. But look a little deeper into that. Why were the guys in the old days, 20, 30, 40 years ago, why were they competing in the All-Star game? I'll tell you exactly why. Because oftentimes the All-Star game was one of the biggest markets, one of the biggest ways to boost your brand. Right? It was oftentimes you'll see guys come out with their own signature shoe around All-Star break and debut it and show it off at All-Star weekend, wherever the host city is. Right? And they'll wear it during the game and they'll run an advertisement for it, like the whole bit. Guys needed that back then. And so they want to market it in the best way they can. There was no Twitter. There was no Instagram. There was no TikTok. There was no YouTube, which is where the majority of the NBA audience comes from. So the guys today, they don't need that. Yes, the fact that they are more financially compensated today more than they were back in the old days, sure, that absolutely factors, but there's more exposure for these guys now more than ever. See, back in the day, they didn't have League Pass. So when you were on national TV, you were on ESPN or you were on NBC or ABC or CBS, one of the major networks, man, you had to show up and show out. Nowadays, whether it's a primetime game or not, it's kind of irrelevant because we have League Pass. We can watch the game we can watch every game of the season if we wanted to from our couches or sports bar, wherever. Guys needed the All-Star game back then. They don't need it now because the world has changed. Social media has come into the picture. It matters. So when the players are told anything you do prior to April and post-June is irrelevant, does not matter, are you shocked that you get what you get? Okay? And what's great too is there is a way to fix it. I will discuss that in just a second. But we have clear and obvious evidence that when there's something out there that the fans or the media or otherwise, heck, at times the league tells us, the audience or the players in general, hey, this really doesn't matter that much. And then they turn that into, we're going to make it matter. We're going to give you compensation. We're going to give you a sense of urgency, a reason to play. All of a sudden, you get a better product. You know what it's called? It's called the in-season tournament. Adam Silver in the NBA debuted it last November, ran through early December. It was a smash hit. It was a slam dunk, to use a basketball term. Ratings were up. Competitive fervor was 1,000 times up. And the reason I say that, there's many voices in the NBA that matter, none more so than the king himself, LeBron James. Take a listen to what LeBron James said about the new in-season tournament when guys were going all out like it was playoff games. Take a listen to what LeBron said back in December about the in-season tournament and tell me if this couldn't apply to the All-Star game. What you got for me, LeBron?
Like I said in my post on the floor, you got some of the most alpha male competitors in the world. And if you give us an opportunity to play for something meaningful, with an incentive, then you'll get what you're getting. And I know the competitive nature in myself. I know the competitive nature in this guy next to me, and our DNA that we're trying to build for this team. So the in-season tournament is what it is, and we have an opportunity to, play on a big stage, be on national television, be able to represent our families and represent our cities.
Give the guys a reason to play and they'll play. It's that simple. It's really not that hard of a concept. By the way, shake things up a little bit. The fact that, and I love Adam Silver, I think he's an outstanding commissioner. But the whole let's bring the East versus West format back in and let's get rid of, I wasn't aware that that's on me on Friday. I apologize for misinforming the audience. I assumed the Kobe Bryant rules, the target score of whatever the leading score was, plus 24 to honor Kobe. I thought that was still in play. That's gone now. So the Kobe target score, an untimed fourth quarter, along with East versus West, as if that even matters anymore. That's going backwards is not the way to fix the All-Star game. I hope Adam Silver, who's a very progressive commissioner, is willing to change if things don't work. I don't know what he was thinking on that one. Hey, listen, we all swing and miss. Even the best ones do. But that was a swing and miss by Adam Silver. And I rarely bring comments, and I love answering comments in between segments. I rarely bring comments into a segment, but this applies, okay? Blue City Empire Sports asks, what's your opinion on Steph Curry versus Sabrina in the All-Star game? Yes, the Steph-Sabrina three-point shooting contest was awesome. The greatest shooter ever, the best shooter in the WNBA, well, for another few months if Caitlin Clark decides to join, but Sabrina's still phenomenal. Go at it. You got a cross-league sort of experience. It was close. It was down to the wire. Both individuals, Steph and Sabrina, were all in on it. There was compensation. And he got the best of the best, competing at the very highest level. Shake things up a little bit. That's what we did with the in-season tournament. Guess what? It's a hit. That's what Adam Silver did with the play-in tournament. Guess what? It was a hit. The bubble's a wild idea at the time it was conceived. It was a slam dunk, to use that term again. It was phenomenal. Couldn't have worked better for the NBA. No COVID cases. Was great. Adam Silver's often been the commissioner of shaking things up. The All-Star game needs that. And listen, we are not a show. Carving It Up is not a show where we just complain about the issue. Oh, this is terrible. What's the solutions? Anybody can give me the problem. What's the solution? I got three, okay? I got three solutions, and the first one is hold the game in major markets. I mean, no offense to the good men and women and children of Indiana, of Indianapolis. We don't need basketball games, All-Star games in Indianapolis. Just like we don't need All-Star games like we had last year in Salt Lake City. We need them in LA and Miami and Philadelphia and San Francisco and Dallas and Houston and Atlanta and Chicago. Big, major market cities. Cities where free agents tend to go. Star free agents tend to go. They go to Los Angeles, particularly with the Lakers, although the Clippers, did get Kawhi and Paul George. They go to the Miami Heat. They go to the Golden State Warriors. They go to the Philadelphia 76ers and the Dallas Mavericks. They don't go to the Indiana Pacers. They don't go to the Utah Jazz. I mean, for crying out loud, the All-Star game, I wrote a report saying the All-Star game within the next few years is going to be in Milwaukee. Nobody goes to Milwaukee. Milwaukee's two best players. Giannis was drafted. Lillard was traded for. Drew Holiday before that. Their second best player before that, he was traded for as well. We don't need it in small markets. The NFL does not have Super Bowls, by and large, in small markets. The one year they had in a small market, Jacksonville, was a disaster for a number of reasons due to capacity and all that. Have the game in major markets, okay? We need it in big, flashy cities, not in small markets. The second thing is, from a compensation standpoint, $500,000 each for each player on the winning team. Listen, we may sit there and think, what's $500,000 going to do for Steph Curry or for Jason Tatum or Kevin Durant or certainly LeBron? LeBron is a billionaire after all. I don't know if it's $500,000. Listen, to us, it's like, oh my gosh, but to NBA players, it's not that, but $500,000 is still $500,000. And by the way, that's what the winning team, which happened to be the Lakers in December, got for winning the in-season tournament. $500K a piece, especially for the guys, the younger guys of that team, maybe the guys don't get in a lot of playing time. $500,000 is a lot of money. Compensate the players. Give them a reason to play. And if you want to really intensify it, the heck with this East-West nonsense. How about this? Last thing to fix the All-Star game, Team US versus Team World. The best All-Stars for the United States versus the best international stars. So for the US, we're talking LeBron and Steph and KD and Jason Tatum and all those guys. And for the Team World, you got Jokic and Luka and Giannis. You got some super duper stars on both sides. And there's a little bit of an Olympic feel to it, right? Like, we don't have to wait every 4 years for the Olympics. We're pulling for Team USA here domestically against the world's competition. If we can see that every year, there's just a sense of pride that comes for that. Or comes with that. Either you got one side that's playing for their country, the NBA, it's this North American brand. We're playing for America, USA, and then you got the other side like, hey, US, you gave us our opportunity, but we're going to represent the world. There's a different level of pride that comes to that. So those three things, put them back up there, okay? 3 things to fix the All-Star game. Hold the game in major markets. Enough with Indianapolis and Salt Lake City. I mean, no offense to those good men and women and children and hardworking people there. We need it in LA, we need it in Miami and Dallas and San Francisco and Chicago and Atlanta and Philadelphia. We don't need it in small markets. The second thing is compensate the players for crying out loud. $500,000 for the winning team. Give them a reason to show up. And lastly, I think most importantly, Team US versus Team World. National versus international. You insert those things, bam. You got a fixed All-Star game. But I don't like how the blame is going on the players when the players are simply doing what the narratives have asked them to do, which is, we don't really care what you do post or pre-April and post-June. That kind of 2-month bubble in between, that's what all the mobiles are for. And it's not like it's always been that way, but more pronounced now with social media and the toxicity that Twitter can cause. Fans, media have told us for years, All-Star game didn't matter. Players finally caught on. Change those 3 components of it, though, you got yourself a product. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.